Hey everyone, this is Nick Campanella, and welcome to the channel. At Tailored Timepieces, we talk about luxury watches and the outside forces that manipulate their value and their price. So on today's video, we're going to be talking about something that has become increasingly more important in the last couple of weeks, and that is how the prices of gold have changed and manipulated the watch market. What to look out for in the coming weeks, and how you can manipulate this opportunity if you are an investor and enjoy some great watches if you're a collector. Thanks so much for clicking on this video, and make sure to give it a like and a follow if you do like the content. Okay, let's get into it. So for a bit of background, over the last year, gold has really seen a surge in both price and investor demand. Actually, in 2025, it's been recorded that gold has reached an all-time high of over $4,000 an ounce. Now, what does this mean? A lot of people are saying, especially in the academic world, that gold is a great store of value, and that you'll see over time, anywhere from the 1980s, that investment in gold has had a positive long-term effect on the market. But I think in layman terms, people are more interested in how it's going to affect their watches. And to put it simply, if the price of gold is rising, that means that cost of manufacturing of watches that we love are rising as well. Watches like this Breitling, watches like this Oyster Perpetual. But it doesn't just mean bad for your average watch collector. It could also mean that if you are a hold investor and you've had these pieces lying around, kind of hesitant to trade them in for the next hottest piece, maybe now's the time you go digging through that safe and seeing what you have. And in the interest of transparency, I really think that it's become much more of a seller's market, especially with the tariffs, which we talked about a couple weeks ago in our earlier video. I think the market has really seen a strain in supply as gold has gone up. Just like any other industry, if the cost of manufacturing goes up, and the cost of the product goes up. Now that could be a great thing, because what essentially, as I said, what that means is I could buy a gold piece today and sit on it for posterity, and it's going to increase in price. I'm not worried about basically gold bottoming out and then me being screwed. Now, the caveat there is, of course, the price of gold changes every day. I can, assure you that Monday gold was a certain price, and then we went to go trade in some gold the other day, and it was down about $150 an ounce. So I think the person that is the gold trader, maybe you're trading these gold pieces, I think that they're going to be in for a shock. But the collector, and to that collector, I say Godspeed, because if you hold something like this, whether it be even a Sky Dweller or a Panerai, I think you'll be in good shape. And I think that you'll have a lot to look forward to in the coming months. Now, of course, as a collector and a dealer myself, I could sit here and spew a lot of different speculative facts and my thoughts and opinions on where I see gold is going, but I don't have a crystal ball, and I think it would be not authentic of me to tell my followers and tell my clients that for sure I know gold is going to go up. So, for this video, and just for the sake of, increasing my knowledge as a dealer, we did do our research, and, what we've found is that gold in general has, increased over the amount of, 0.64% over the last year. And that is month to month. Now, you can look at that and say, hey, the stock market is increasing anywhere from 6 to 8% a year. If you put your funds into a really nice ETF or a really good savings fund, essentially it doesn't outpace the stock market. So that leaves you with the question of this: what are those external outside forces that are artificially or not artificially increasing the value of watches and the cost of gold? I think that's a couple things. The first of which is, of course, supply chain. You got to keep in mind that when you're investing your money and you're letting it sit, you aren't worried about supply chain, because I'm just going to put $1,000, $10,000, $50,000 into the savings account and it's going to grow with the stock market, or I'm going to put it into a nice ETF and it'll grow with the stock market. But when you are talking about gold pieces, that's not the case. I mean, if you look at this, wonderful mother of pearl rose gold Breitling, it's a heavy hitter. Retail is about $48,000, and they are limited to a certain number. Now, a lot of watch suppliers do this because they want to create artificial scarcity, but in the case of a gold watch, it is now becoming real, literal scarcity, as gold is being consumed more, it's being used more in cars, it's being used more in technology, and it's becoming a more scarce resource. I also think there's, of course, as any other industry that deals with luxury goods, the idea that there's hype around these products. You have very intelligent and educated watch dealers and watchmakers hyping the product because they want to sell the item. So even though statistically the value of gold doesn't outpace the stock market currently, as of our current findings, there are other outside external forces and factors that do, and that is just a little bit of my insight as to why that is the case. So it's not just the value of gold going up, but it is also the demand and also the hype around this process. And again, the fact that these are luxury goods and they're made in limited supply. So that's just things to keep in mind. As a lot of people say, hey, it's still a better idea to put, my money into a savings account or put my money into the stock market and wait. What I can say is this: it's a lot more badass to put a rose gold, white gold, or yellow gold watch on your wrist. So, and that difference is just nominal when it comes to putting your money in the stock market versus putting your money in gold as of right now. I can't, again, speak on the future. I can't speak on future market conditions or what we might see as much as tomorrow or next week, because as I said, day to day, the gold market has gone up and down. But I can speak on my personal experience, and I can speak on everything I know based on the research that we have done. And I don't think it's a bad idea to put your money in some gold watches as of right now. Now, what does that mean if you are currently a collector of gold versus somebody who is looking at buying these timepieces? What I think that might mean is that you might see in the coming months suppliers using less gold in their watches simply because they have less access to it. So that might mean thinner cases. That might mean less affectations of details on new releases that come out. That might mean that they are producing these pieces in more limited number than they have in past, in record years. It might also mean that the increase in gold price may soften the demand of these pieces to a certain extent, because you have your everyday watch collector saying, hey, you know what? I would spend maybe $30,000 in this gold Submariner, but now that this person is asking 38 or 39, it's just out of my budget, and that's totally okay. There are other options for that person, but it's very important to keep that in mind when you are shopping around, that you know the true price of gold, and that you are, keeping it in mind when you are looking to put something else on your wrist. Another thing as well, if you're a collector, and I see this happen all the time, when people measure and weigh their watches, they don't look into things like the weight of the movement, the weight of the dial, things that are not gold that they'll put into, the weight when they measure the watch or when they weigh the watch. So something like that could be a differential anywhere from 15 to 30 grams. And that is a big value difference when it comes to trying to collect and trying to put a proper valuation on the watches that you have in your collection. I would not be surprised if we see a surge of people trying to offload their gold pieces. I've seen it in the last couple weeks. I think we're going to continue seeing it through the end of 2025. And I am very careful to accept every gold piece that is offered to us because, again, we don't want this to be, for those history buffs out there, kind of like that tulip crisis that happened in the Middle Ages, where, for those who don't know, the prices of tulips had gone up, so everybody was planting these flowers, and then soon those tulips became worthless. And so I think if we see too much of an influx of gold in the market, I think that you are going to start seeing some adverse effects to, the collectability of these watches and these timepieces. So I would say this: if you have watches, I would hold it for a little while longer. I wouldn't rush to your nearest pawn shop or your nearest dealer to try and sell those watches, unless you have, a pretty immediate need. Again, I know this is very counterproductive and counterintuitive. Coming from someone like myself who does buy and sell watches, you would think that somebody would get on camera and say, "Hey, gold has gone up, sell me all your watches." I think to a certain extent, it's great to sell some of your collection, but make sure that you're doing it intelligently, make sure you're doing it smartly, and make sure you're doing it with people that you trust, because the amount of things that I've seen, in the near 5 years that I've been doing this with, people not measuring the scale correctly, people putting different metals and mixing different metals with their gold as they are trying to measure gold. The guy going in the back room and telling you, "Hey, you know what? Your gold is worth XYZ." And, they're forgetting a premium. I think that it's a risk. So it's totally fine to take that risk. I think that we should all take risks in life, but I think that you need to educate yourself as you would anything else a little bit more than if you were going to buy and sell some stainless steel pieces when it comes to precious metals, because you don't want to get screwed. You need to know that prices are changing and inflating and deflating every day, and you need to have the certain expectation that whoever you do work with when you are buying and selling these watches, they have to make something. And I see all the time people that will come in and say, "Hey, gold is $4,000 an ounce, so I need my watches, however many grams, however many ounces, maybe it's 4 grams is the weight of the watch, I need $16,000 for that item." And I'm here to set that expectation that, hey, you're not going to get that, because that person needs to melt that watch, that person needs to sell that item, and they need to understand the difference between the scrap price of gold and the melt price of gold. And I think a lot of consumers aren't necessarily educated on the difference. So again, just do your due diligence before you walk into any shop, whether it be a pawn shop, in the middle of nowhere, or even our shop here, in Brooklyn. And know what you're looking for, know the carats of what you have, know the weight and purity of what you have, and you'll have a great experience. And I'm very confident in at least saying that. So to wrap it all up, yes, of course, the price of gold, with the rising price of gold in record numbers this year, the prices of watches have been, and I think will continue to go up as long as that demand stays steady and that supply chain stays steady, and you don't see an influx of gold pieces on the market. It is one of my fears. Honestly, in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a lot of people just unloading so much gold. So hold it if you can. If you need to sell it, then now's the time to sell it. And please keep in mind that you're doing the correct amount of research, because even though I love the watch industry, there are very industry-specific journals and articles and publications that are going to skew towards the watch market. So it's very important to have a unbiased review and education on the macro and micro economic scale when it comes to gold and just precious metals in general. If you watched this video in full and you've liked this video, please give us a like and give us a comment. If there's anything in your collection that you would like to sell, or if there's anything in your collection that you'd like to show off, leave it in the comments as well. I'd love to see what's on your wrist, whether it be a precious metal piece, whether it be a stainless steel piece. I don't discriminate. And thank you so much for giving us your time and attention. I really appreciate it, and I hope to come out with better videos for you as we progress in our YouTube journey. Thanks. Bye-bye.